Hello everyone. We already have an idea about the name of the methods of farmyard manure preparation. Before we should go for the methods of preparation of FYM in details, we must know about the constituents of FYM in broad manner. We already learned from the previous discussion FYM refers to the decomposed mixture of dung, urine and litter of farm animals. We also have already discussed several factors influence the composition of FYM. So let's study today about the constituents of farmyard manure and the impact of those influencing factors on the constituents of FYM. That is, how the factors influences the constituents of FYM. So what is dung? The dung is solid excreta from farm animals which represents the undigested and non-digestible portion of the animal feed. The percentage of moisture in it varies from 70 to 80%. Urine is the liquid excreta of farm animals, which is composed essentially of the byproducts of nitrogen metabolism of farm animals. It also consists of 90% of water with small amounts of urea, sulfates of sodium and potassium, and also chlorides and phosphates of calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Litter is a variable mixture consisting of straw, leaves, stems used as bedding material for cattle during their rest and eventually absorbs the urine and adds carbonaceous matter in the manure to facilitate decomposition. This is the average percentage of nitrogen, P2O5 and K2O in the fresh excreta of farm animals. We can see poultry manure is the richest among all of it, and urine of all animals contains more percentage of nitrogen and K2O than the dung portion. Dung portion has more percentage of phosphate. So come to the factors which influence the composition of FYM. Firstly, source of manure. Composition of manure varies with kind of animal producing it. That means which type of animal is producing the manure. Poultry droppings is the richest one, followed by sheep manure for nutrient contents. Dung contains phosphate, while urine contains nitrogen and K2O. Amount of urine soaked in bedding material also decides the composition and vary with kind of animal. Feed of the animal. The richer the food in proteins, the richer will be the manure in nitrogen, which comes out in the dung and urine. Age and condition of the animal. Young animals need more proteins to build up their body. So, such manure is poorer in nitrogen content than old animals. Manure of sick animal is richer than healthy animals naturally. Function of the animals. Cattle utilize proteins for milk production. Hence, manure is poor in nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium content than draft purpose animals, as they utilize more carbohydrates. Nature and proportion of litter. The composition of litter varies with the kind of straw and hence will affect the quality of manure. Bajra stalks are rich in nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, followed by wheat and maize. The lastly is storage and handling. Under ordinary storage there are losses of nitrogen. Potash gets lost due to leaching when the manure is too moist. Now we come to the methods of preparation of FYM one after another. Firstly, we have heap method. In the heap method, the daily collections from cattle shed are spread in uniform layers until the heap attains a maximum height of 1 meter above the ground. The top of the heap is rounded and then plastered with dung and mud mixture. In both the pit method and heap method, aeration is allowed in the beginning and later under anaerobic conditions and continue for a long period. The manure is ready for use after 5 to 6 months. Heap method is above the ground and pit method is related to below the ground. Again, heap methods must be initiated before the rainy season and continued throughout the year. If properly preserved, the quantity of manure that can be produced per animal per year would be as much as 4 to 5 tons, containing 0.5% of nitrogen. This is in contrast to 1 or 2 tons per animal per year containing 0.5% nitrogen, which is obtained by the indigenous method. This method is commonly used by farmers. We already know in the previous class. Every day, sweeping, cow dung and litter are carefully collected and heaped at any fixed place. After 6 to 9 months, the rotten manure is used finally. The second one is trench method. Trenches of size 6 meter to 7.5 meter in length, 1.5 meter to 2 meter in width and 1 meter deep are dug. All available litter and refuse is mixed with soil and spread in the shed so as to absorb urine. The next morning, urine soaked refuse along with dung is collected and placed in that trench. Now a section of the trench from one end should be taken up for filling with daily collection. When the section is filled up to a height of 45 cm to 60 cm above the ground level, the top of the heap is made into a dome and plastered with cow dung earth slurry. The process is continued, and when the first trench is completely filled, second trench is prepared. The manure becomes ready for use in about 4 to 5 months after plastering. If urine is not collected in the bedding, it can be collected along with washings of the cattle shed in a cemented pit, from which it is later added to the farmyard manure pit. Third one is pit method, that is below the ground. To prepare good quality of FYM, it should be prepared in the pit. Farmyard manure should be prepared in fixed dimensions of pits. In pits, the FYM gets rotten in good way and its dosage element is handled. The right way to make FYM properly will be discussed now. First, gathering of animal excreta. The important thing is to gather animal excreta without losing its urine. Therefore, straw, waste fodder or remains of crop is sprayed under the animals so that urine gets absorbed in it. Paddy straw is very suitable for this. 1 kg of straw will absorb approximately 1.5 kg of urine. By absorbing urine in straw, the proportion of carbon and nitrogen also gets reduced. Because of this reason, the straw gets rotten earlier. If there is a solid floor under the animal, then about 50% urine can be gathered, which can be added on farm waste with the help of buckets. Now, how pit digging is possible? The dimensions of pit will depend upon the number of animals and the amount of excreta. Mainly for 3 to 5 animals excreta, 6 to 7 meter long, 1 to 1.5 meter wide and 3 feet deep is enough. The depth of pit from one side should be 3 feet and from another side it should be 3.5 feet. Dug the pit at a place where rainwater cannot get gathered. Ridges should be made around the pit. Well, pit filling. Pit filling will start with a low deep side and fill it up to 1.5 feet high from the ground and then make 1.5 to 2 inches thick soil layer above. By doing this, the seeds of the farm waste will also be degraded and the dosage elements will be saved from sunlight. Number of pits. Every farmer must have at least 2 to 3 pits so that first pit gets covered after adding soil and then second pit should be start filling. During this time, the FYM of first pit will be ready to be added in the field, which will again get free after using manure prepared by this way. The dimensions of the pit can be variable depending on the quantity of dung, urine and litter produced on the farm per day. The losses also occur in this method due to exposure of sun and rain, but it is relatively a better method than the heap method. So peat method is better than the heap method. Now among all the methods, it is the best method, that is covered peat method. In this method, the bottom and sides of the peat are made non-absorbent by granite stone lining. The peat is also provided with a band of 1.5 feet high to prevent surface flow of rainwater and a suitable cover by way of roofing with locally available materials like this kind of leaves, organic matter and nutrient losses can be effectively controlled in the storage method to obtain better quality manure. So the percentage of FYM prepared in this method is 0.68% nitrogen, 0.5% phosphorus and 1% of potassium. So covered peat method responds best because it has minimum losses of nutrients. Now a modern method is available from biogas plant. What is biogas plant? A biogas plant is the name often given to an anaerobic digester that treats farm wastes. When dung or any other organic materials is fermented in absence of air, the combustible gas methane is produced. In biogas plant, the fermentation is carried out in a brick-lined well, which is filled with dung made into liquid slurry with water. This is then covered with an iron drum introduced upside down in the well, which serves to cut off air and provide the necessary conditions for fermentation. The gas is produced in the form of bubbles inside the drum, which gradually fills up and begins to float and rise. The gas is then taken through a wheelcock on the top of the drum and led to the kitchen by pipes and burned through suitable burners. So, in this way, the gas production is maintained by adding 50 kg of fresh dung daily through a funnel pipe, which carries the slurry to the bottom of the well. The biogas plant spent slurry, which is called biogas slurry, overflows from the top of the well and collects in a pit where it is periodically removed and added to the compost. So, in this way, we will get biogas slurry. After the digestion of cow dung in a biogas plant, 25% of the solids are converted into gas and 75% of the solids are converted into manure. In the previous slide, we have discussed the working principle of biogas plant to produce biogas slurry. So, between the effluent, 25% of the solids and 25% are 25% of the solids are converted into gas and 75% of the solids are converted into manure. In a 2 cubic centimeter gas plant in which about 50 kg of cow dung is applied daily or 80 to 25 tons of cow dung in a year, about 10 tons of biogas slurry with 80% moisture content is obtained from that dung. The thin slurry from the biogas plant contains 20% of nitrogen. So if it is immediately used by making drains in the field or mixed with irrigation water and left in the field, then its benefit is immediately on the crop, like chemical fertilizer. And 10 to 20% benefit is available in production. So it is excellent fertilizer for cultivation in nitrogen from 1.5 to 2%, phosphorus 1.0%, and potash is up to 1%. When manure comes out in the form of slurry from the biogas plant, then as much nitrogen is in the dung, the same amount of nitrogen is also in the slurry prepared. But during the process of digestion in the plant, due to the conversion of carbon into gas, the amount of carbon is reduced due to the reduction of carbon nitrogen. And the ratio decreases, and due to this, nitrogen content appears to be increased. So this is the schematic diagram of biogas plant from which biogas slurry is prepared. This is the equipment which consists of gas holder tank, digester tank, etc. So ultimately this is the outlet from which biogas is removed. So what is the advantage of biogas plant? Biogas is environment friendly and very useful for rural areas. The cow dung, when processed through the gas plant, yields enough gas for cooking, lighting, and good quality of manure because it is methane free. The manure obtained from biogas plants has higher content of nitrogen as against found in farmyard manure. The thermal efficiency of cow dung burnt for fuel in usual manner is around 11%, while it is 60% when burnt is properly designed burners. Biogas digest is very rich in humus content. The manure is free from offensive odor. It helps also in improving the sanitation by preventing fly and mosquito breeding. So most importantly, biogas slurry is also used as bulky organic manure produced from biogas plant. So this is the nutrient status comparison among biogas slurry, farmyard manure, and town compost. About compost we will learn in future. So that's all for today. Next class will be coming soon. Thank you everyone.